What is up, everybody? I'm your Legendary Commander, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. In this video, we're going to talk about how to defeat the Minotaur solo. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is not easy. So, the biggest problem when fighting these guys is, well, they normally come in pairs, and they hit like a truck. And then they can also jump to your location, causing damage, and they can swing, and also, while they swing, they seem like sometimes they can go into reckless fury and hit you again. But, all that said, they can just hit you once and kill you. So how is it that you're supposed to defeat them? Well, definitely hit the save button before you try and fight them by yourself, or even as a group for that matter. So the first thing we're going to start with is having a very high AC. Having a very high AC in the first place already helps, but you need to buff yourself as much as you can, which means if you can cast Shield of Faith, if you can equip a shield to your character to give them +2 AC, you should do those things. As well, if you have anything that can cause disadvantage, do so. As a cleric, my character can create light that causes disadvantage when the enemy tries to strike me. It is used as a reaction, which means it can be used once per turn, so as long as I'm not getting bombarded, it's going to help me out here. So now that we've covered the AC, let's talk about how you really want to fight them. The first thing you're going to want to do is dump the most powerful spells you have into them. These guys are no joke, they're not something you want to play with. Don't try and save your high level spells for later, because you can always just take a long rest. Burn those spells in this case. These guys will screw you up. Basically, you're looking to do the most damage you can. Now, there are actually a few other ways to do damage other than just hitting them. You could set up the explosive barrels in the area by right-clicking on them and hitting pickup from a far away distance, and then you can drag them to the position you want. Your character will stop running towards it the moment you mouse over it, or at the very least once you start grabbing a hold of it and trying to drag it. This is how you move explosive and water and wine barrels. Put them in a position that aren't going to be in the way of their path. And they don't have to be super close to a explosive barrel to get hit. They can be a fair distance away and still be hit by it. When you detonate a barrel, I'm sure there's a bit of a roll to it, but 25 seemed to be my average with these explosions. So set yourself up in a way that the enemy is forced to stop when they're walking or jumping in front of that area. Now, some of you may be fighting it alone, some of you may be fighting it in a group. If you're fighting in a group, remember to keep picking up your allies. Even though they're down, having them picked up does give you that advantage of maybe he'll miss this next time, or at least he'll waste an attack on him and not on my high AC character, which means my high AC character can, maybe get missed on the attack that goes back for him. By picking them up, you can extend the length of the battle and possibly, especially if you've eliminated one of them, drag the battle out long enough to where you can eventually have whittled him down and killed one of them, and now the other one can't keep up with the number of people moving around, meaning it would only be a matter of time before you manage to put him down. Now, for those of you playing single, it's a lot more about mobility, and if you're soloing this and you're trying to not have any allies with you, you're going to have to do some things to help you. You're going to want to lay those traps, like I said before. Set the explosive barrels up in places that you know they're going to be walking from. However, in this case, you also want to definitely lay down grease, which is going to slow their mobility down, and stay far enough away that they will not jump. Minotaurs like to jump at their opponents because when they jump and they land, they cause damage, but they don't jump unless the enemy is nearby. So by staying far away from your opponents and including outside of combat range, you can slow them down and have them walk through grease and stuff that will make them fall on their butt, and then, well, they've lost their turn, and if for some reason you can slip in and do some damage while they're prone, that's great. Or at the very least, it'll let you get further distance away to get to your next ambush point, which is also important because you're going to really want to ambush these guys as much as possible. You may have to stop in front of a explosive barrel so he doesn't try and jump the distance, and you may have to tank a hit. But if he doesn't kill you, you can use that explosive barrel by disengaging, by jumping away, and then throwing a fireball at that barrel and making it explode. Now, I wouldn't stand near an explosive barrel and wait for him to come to you unless it is your last stand, because you're out of room and he's almost dead anyway. Don't forget to use the grease to maybe knock him prone, because if he slips and falls, well, he's at least on the ground, and I have used explosive barrels in range of grease when they have gone prone and damaged my enemy. You can actually use explosive barrels to extend your range by backing off from your enemy, and while you can't reach the Minotaur, you can throw a firebolt at the explosive barrel, which will explode, and if it doesn't hit him, if you have grease nearby that he just slipped on, well, you can light the grease on fire, which will at least do some fire damage. Now, the final thing I would like to mention is, in the case that you are fighting these guys and you happen to have it on you, a potion of haste is never a bad idea. Having 2 actions per turn can make a world of difference, especially if you have something like Inflict Wounds. Inflict Wounds is absolutely wonderful because it's such a high damaging spell. Yes, you have to get close, but if the enemy is already close, if you took the potion of haste and drank it, you can actually hit him twice, which ultimately could result in 120 damage at the high roll, or closer to about 20 each hit, so that means about 40 damage. You also can run further with the potion of haste, and if for some reason you really gotta book it, you can take dash as an additional action twice, and you're already getting a boosted run because it's actually a potion of speed, not a potion of haste, that only gives 3 turns of haste. Because it doubles your movement speed, then you can dash an additional double of your normal movement speed, and then you can dash again and do another movement speed. So you can make a long distance, and then if you were to couple that with a Misty Step, you could really make a lot of distance very quickly, but at that point you'll probably have disengaged with the enemy. But you can at least use the Potion of Speed or Haste, whichever you prefer to call it, as a last stand effort as well if you don't want to take that last hit because you're afraid you're going to die and he needs to be hit one more time, while Potion of Haste would give you those 2 attacks, and well, now you have the extra hit you needed versus risking getting hit in the face one time and dying. I would say the absolute most final thing to remember is to try and get them to separate if you can. That's why the grease is so useful, because if one falls prone and the other one gets ahead of the other one, if you separate them and you manage to kill one, the other will go back to his spot, which means you only have to contend with one at a time. This is going to make it a lot easier to deal with them, as dealing with 2 guys hitting you versus 1 isn't nearly as fair. So that is pretty much how you're going to have to fight them. I will say, make sure you save a lot, because you are asking a lot from the game to give you the right rolls, because you can literally roll ones the whole way technically. Granted, that's probably not going to happen, but we've seen as the developers tried to play it one time, if you've ever seen that video, and they could not get past the first area, and they're the people who developed the game. Now, I'm not trying to say that they're bad players, some of them are, but, you know, the point is the game is very random, and you can roll all ones, or you can roll all 20s, or you can roll somewhere in between there. But the best thing you can do when you are running random numbers is secure as many static numbers, things that you can tangibly know this is going to happen. That's what you want to do. And by securing those numbers, making sure you're getting these opportunities, your chances of loss fall dramatically. You may still have to load that save file 4 or 5 times to get it to work out right, but eventually it will work out right for you, if for some reason it didn't work out the last time. Maybe you rolled nat 1s on your Inflict Wounds from behind with a 98% chance and somehow still missed. That one sucks, doesn't it? It's a roll of a die, though. But that is going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure to tell your friends. But y'all take care. And I will catch you next time.